The wisdom of lost civilizations lies within legendary beasts. We will travel across continents and through time to meet the mythic creatures who served as the living libraries of humanity, encoding entire worldviews in their stories. You will discover how to see mythology not as fantasy, but as a coded historical record that reshapes your understanding of the past. What secrets did the Chinese dragon whisper to emperors, and what cataclysm did the world serpent of the north foretell? What creature do you feel holds the deepest memory of our world long before ink touched parchment? Societies faced a monumental challenge: how to carry their most vital knowledge across the abyss of generations. The solution was both brilliant and beautiful. They encoded their entire worldview into living, breathing symbols, into the mythic beasts that stalked the edges of their maps and the depths of their dreams. These creatures were the original libraries, their scales, feathers, and fangs serving as shelves for the stories of a people. An ancient Greek thinker once suggested that a culture's true soul is mirrored in the monsters it creates. And these were not mere frights for children. They were the designated guardians of law, of origin, of identity itself. Think of the dragon. It was never just a giant, fire-breathing lizard. In its coiled body resided the principles of chaos and order, its control over water and rain reflecting a deep understanding of the natural world's delicate balance. Its very form was a memory palace, a complex mnemonic device where every aspect, from the number of its claws to the color of its scales, held a piece of a larger cosmological puzzle. By wrapping their most abstract and crucial concepts in tangible, fearsome, or magnificent forms, our ancestors built a knowledge preservation system of incredible resilience. This system, built on narrative and symbol, could survive where stone tablets crumbled and empires fell. It could cross linguistic barriers, speaking a universal language of imagery and awe. So the next time you encounter a legendary beast in an old tale, ask yourself, what is it truly remembering? Learning to read the creatures, not just the texts, might just be the key to hearing the whispers of a world we thought was lost forever. Rows of golden dragons still guard the rooftops of the Forbidden City. Their silent vigil is a powerful echo of a civilization that wove its entire identity into the body of a single mythic being. The Chinese dragon, the Lóng, was far more than a symbol of power. It was the living memory of Imperial China itself. This creature carried the mandate of heaven, the divine right to rule, and an emperor was seen as its human incarnation. To understand the Lóng is to understand how a civilization remembered its own soul. Its very anatomy was a carefully constructed code. The dragon was a composite of 9 different animals, from the horns of a stag to the belly of a clam. Each part represented an ideal virtue or a facet of the natural world, creating a perfect, remembered blueprint for a wise and powerful ruler. This was not a random monster. It was a walking, flying mnemonic device for statecraft. Its dominion over water and rain made it a crucial record of agricultural wisdom. The dragon remembered the life-giving floods and the devastating droughts. Its moods encoded the vital cycles of planting and harvest that the emperor was sworn to protect. The creature's long, serpentine body was a map, its curves mirroring the great rivers that nourished the land and its scales reflecting the contours of the mountains. Even the number of claws on its feet was a precise historical record. 5 clawed dragons were reserved for the emperor alone, while 4 or 3 claws denoted nobles and officials of lower rank. This was a visual language, a way for the mythic beast to carry the intricate memory of the entire social and bureaucratic hierarchy in its very limbs. The Lóng was an active participant in the continuity of civilization. a constant reminder that the present was forever rooted in a celestial and orderly past. Yet, while the dragon remembered harmony, another great serpent from the frozen north held the memory of a far more chaotic and primal truth. Far from the imperial courts of China, in the frigid waters encircling the world of men, a different serpent held a much darker memory. The great world serpent Jörmungandr did not remember imperial order or celestial harmony. It remembered the end of all things, cast into the ocean by Odin himself. This beast grew so vast that it could encircle the entire realm of Midgard, grasping its own tail in its mouth. That circular form is the first clue to its purpose. It is a perfect, living symbol of a cycle, the inescapable loop of fate that the Norse called Ragnarök. This was not a creature of mindless destruction, but a necessary force, a memory keeper of a profound and difficult truth. The world is not built to last forever. Jörmungandr's very existence was a constant reminder to gods and humans alike that their actions were leading toward an inevitable, cataclysmic climax. Its growth in the deep sea paralleled the escalating tensions in the cosmos, a living record of every broken oath and every gathering storm that foretold the final battle. This serpent was a cartographer of doom, its coiled body mapping the literal and metaphysical boundaries of the entire Norse universe. Its scales remembered the shape of the world, and its cold blood held the memory of a future that was already written. The epic poems, the Eddas, recount how during Ragnarök, Thor and his ancient foe would face each other one last time. The thunder god would strike the serpent down, but would then take only 9 steps before succumbing to its venom. This was not a story of victory, but of mutual destruction. Jörmungandr carried this memory of a destined death for both monster and god, teaching a culture to accept and even find meaning in their own eventual end. It encoded a world where creation and destruction were 2 halves of the same story, where from the ashes of one world, another green one would inevitably rise. This beast remembered that endings are also beginnings, a cyclical vision of time that stands in stark contrast to our modern, linear view of history. While the world serpent held the memory of a final, freezing twilight, other cultures created beasts to remember the very first warm light of dawn. Across the world, the memory of the land itself is held within a great serpent. In the ancient, sun-scorched heart of Australia, the rainbow serpent does not sleep in myth, but dreams the world into a continuous state of being. This is not a creature of a forgotten past. It is the eternal, pulsing memory of the Dreamtime, the foundational epoch when the world was sung into existence. Its colossal body, carved into the very earth, is the ultimate record of a people and their home. Where it rested, it left waterholes. Where it traveled, it carved riverbeds. Where it rose, it pushed up mountain ranges. The entire continent becomes a living manuscript, written in the tracks of this single, mythic being. These tracks are not merely physical. They are song lines, intricate navigational routes that are memorized and performed through sacred song. To sing the song of the rainbow serpent is to walk the correct path across the desert, to find water, to survive. The serpent is the central character in this sung map, its story an unbroken chain of geographic and cultural memory that has guided countless generations. Its vibrant, iridescent colors are a remembered catalogue of the life it sustains, a direct link to the rain, fertility, and the lush renewal that follows the wet season. But this creature's memory is not only of the land's shape, but of its lore. The stories of the rainbow serpent are filled with lessons on kinship, respect for the environment, and the consequences of breaking social taboos. It remembers the rules for living in harmony with a demanding world. This is a form of memory that is active and participatory, a constant recreation of reality through story and ceremony. The rainbow serpent remembers the world into being every single day. This stands in profound contrast to a guardian born from a very different kind of memory, one not of continuous creation, but of sudden, total collapse. The promise of a returning God is a memory of hope, but some beasts were created to remember a far more severe lesson. High in the mountains of South America, a different kind of guardian watches over an entire ecosystem. The Andean condor, with a wingspan that blots out the sun, is not merely a bird in Incan mythology. It is the messenger of the gods, the ruler of the upper world, and the living memory of a sacred pact between humanity and the towering peaks they called home. This creature's flight patterns were a direct reflection of celestial will, its movements interpreted as divine approval or warning. The condor remembered the proper way to live in a vertical world, where survival depended on understanding the intricate connections between the high Andes, the cultivated valleys, and the lowland jungles. Its vast, soaring perspective encoded a complete geographical and spiritual map of the empire, a territory united not by roads alone, but by shared observation of the natural world's omens. The condor's role extended beyond mere messenger. It was a crucial participant in the memory of justice and consequence. Stories tell of the condor carrying away those who broke sacred laws, serving as a stark, visible reminder of the moral order that governed society. Its black and white feathers were a symbol of the eternal struggle between good and evil, light and dark, a constant reminder that every action had a reaction in the cosmic balance. This bird was a living almanac, its migratory and feeding habits marking seasonal changes and dictating agricultural cycles. To see a condor circling was to remember your place in a vast, ordered universe, and to recall the severe, beautiful price of living out of harmony with it. The condor's memory was one of consequence, a system of divine law written across the sky. The deep sea has always held a primal fear, a memory of chaos before land was formed. From these tumultuous depths emerges Leviathan, a beast whose coiled form is a testament to a cosmic battle already won. In the texts of the Hebrew Bible, this primordial sea monster is far more than a large fish. It is a living memory of the formless void that existed before creation. Leviathan remembers the chaos that God subdued, its very existence serving as a permanent reminder of the divine power that imposed order upon the watery abyss. To read about Leviathan is to access an ancient cultural memory, one that scholars trace back to older Canaanite myths where a storm god battled a sea serpent. This beast carries the echo of that theological evolution, the moment when a monotheistic god asserted supremacy over the chaotic forces of nature that older deities represented. Its terrifying description is itself a mnemonic device, impenetrable scales that cannot be pierced, a mouth ringed with fearsome teeth, and breath that can set the very abyss on fire. Every fearsome detail was designed to magnify the power of the one who could hook it, tame it, and ultimately control it. Leviathan became the ultimate measure of divine authority, a benchmark of strength remembered in the book of Job, where God challenges Job by asking if he can draw out the monster with a fishhook. But the memory this creature holds is not static. In some apocalyptic traditions, its story is not yet finished. Leviathan is destined to be slain and served at a great messianic banquet for the righteous. This transforms the beast from a symbol of past chaos into a promise of future redemption, a memory of God's ultimate victory that is yet to come. The Leviathan, therefore, holds a dual memory, the terror of the primordial deep and the power that controls it, a cosmic struggle encoded in a single, monstrous form. This beast of the deep embodies remembered chaos, while our next guardian represents a completely different kind of memory, one of remembered justice and the unyielding law of the wild. That stone gaze has stared across the desert for millennia, holding a question in its silent mouth. The great Sphinx of Giza is the original, a lion with the head of a pharaoh, and its purpose was to remember the very nature of sacred power. In the Egyptian worldview, this creature was a guardian of thresholds, its form a perfect fusion of the lion's immense physical strength and the human ruler's divine intellect. It remembered the pharaoh as the ultimate conqueror and the living embodiment of the sun god, a stable, unshakable pillar of cosmic order. But another Sphinx, born from Greek soil, would transform this guardian of answers into a keeper of a profound and deadly question. The Theban Sphinx, sent by the gods as a punishment, did not simply guard a place, it guarded an idea. Her famous riddle was a compact, poetic memory of the universal human experience. What being walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 in the evening? The answer, of course, is a human who crawls as a baby, walks upright in adulthood, and uses a staff in old age. This was not a trivial puzzle. It was the entire human life cycle encoded into a single, elegant metaphor. The creature itself was the living vessel for this essential knowledge, a monstrous reminder of the journey every person must take. Those who failed to answer were devoured, a brutal illustration of a world where ignorance of life's fundamental truths led to annihilation. The Sphinx's very existence preserved the memory of a world teetering between chaos and reason. When Oedipus finally solved the riddle, his victory was remembered as a pivotal moment for all of humanity. He did not slay the beast with a weapon, but with his mind. In that act, the myth remembers the triumph of human intellect over unknowable, arbitrary force. The Sphinx's self-destruction upon hearing the correct answer symbolizes the retreat of primal mystery before the advancing light of logic and law. This creature, therefore, carries one of our most cherished cultural memories, the moment we claimed cognitive sovereignty and began to build a world governed by human reason rather than monstrous enigma. It remembers our first, definitive step out of the shadowy realm of superstition. Yet, even as humanity celebrated its intellectual victory over the riddles of existence, a far older and more brutal memory was being kept alive by a beast that remembered the fate of the gods themselves. From the ashes of its own end, a new beginning always emerges. The phoenix rises not just as a myth, but as the living, breathing memory of rebirth itself. This magnificent bird, wreathed in flames, builds its own fragrant pyre of cinnamon and myrrh, and there it is consumed by a fire of its own making. Yet from those very ashes it emerges young, vibrant, and whole, ready to begin its great cycle anew. This is not a story of escape, but of transformation, a creature that is the very embodiment of cyclical memory. Its origins stretch back to the sun-baked banks of the Nile, to the Egyptian Bennu bird. The Bennu was a heron-like creature associated with the sun god Ra. Its cry was said to mark the beginning of time, and its annual appearance coincided with the Nile's life-giving flood. This bird remembered the most vital rhythm of Egyptian civilization, the dependable cycle of death and renewal that governed the entire agricultural year. The desert would seem to die, and then the river would flood, and the land would be reborn, fertile and green. The phoenix was this process, encoded in feathers and fire. Its incredible lifespan, sometimes 500 years, sometimes 1,000, acted as a living calendar, a way for cultures to mark vast eras and remember that time itself moves in great, repeating loops. The death by fire is a crucial part of this memory. Fire is the ultimate purifier, the element that destroys form to release essence. The phoenix's self-immolation is a powerful mnemonic for the painful but necessary nature of true transformation. It remembers that for something new to be born, the old must often be utterly consumed. This was a memory that gave profound comfort to entire civilizations staring at their own mortality, whether through the fall of a dynasty or the passing of a loved one. It promised continuity. The Roman Empire eagerly adopted the symbol, seeing in the bird a hope for its own eternal reign. Later, early Christian artists saw the same pattern and painted the phoenix in catacombs as a symbol of Christ's resurrection. and by extension, the promise of eternal life for all believers. The core memory held by the Phoenix, the paradigm of death and rebirth, was so fundamental, so universal, that it could be perfectly translated across completely different religions and millennia. It carries the most hopeful memory we possess, that no ending is truly final. Yet, while the Phoenix remembers the fiery, spectacular cycle of cosmic renewal, another creature from the frozen forests remembers a quieter, more internal kind of cycle, one of deep sleep and the hidden journey of the soul. Deep in the ancient forests, the bear sleeps, and in that sleep, it remembers everything. Across the continents of Eurasia and North America, this powerful creature was never seen as just another animal. It was a revered relative, a teacher, and a master of the greatest mystery, the annual cycle of death and rebirth we call hibernation. To our ancestors, the bear did not simply take a long nap. It performed a sacred act, descending into the earth and returning, season after season, with its knowledge intact. This profound ability made it the living memory of the soul's own journey, a guardian of the pathways between the world we see and the one we feel. Shamans, the spiritual navigators of their communities, would seek the bear's spirit above all others. They believed this creature held the memory of every healing herb, the location of every migratory path, and the very map to the spirit world. Its physical body was a library of practical survival, but its spirit was a key to cosmic travel. When a shaman draped themselves in a bear pelt, they were not merely wearing a disguise, they were tapping into an ancient, accumulated consciousness, asking the bear to remember the way for them. This relationship is not a recent invention. The stunning cave paintings in places like Chauvet Cave in France, created over 30,000 years ago, show us meticulous, reverent depictions of bears. This suggests a memory relationship spanning hundreds of generations, a lineage of respect carved in stone and carried in story. Later cultures formalized this bond with profound ceremonies. The Ainu people of Japan and the Sami of Scandinavia held elaborate bear send-offs, treating the creature as an honored guest who had chosen to give its body for the people's survival. By feasting on its meat and arranging its bones with ritual care, they were not just hunting, they were participating in a sacred exchange. They were accessing and reaffirming an ancient pact between humanity and the natural world, a pact the bear itself remembered. The bear was the earthly guardian of balance, its life a testament to the old ways, where every hunt was a prayer and every meal a remembrance of interdependence. Its heavy, grounded presence held the memory of the entire forest ecosystem, a stark contrast to our next guardian, a sleek, celestial hound whose memory was not of the earth, but of the relentless, fiery pursuit of the sun itself. A ghostly howl still echoes from our constellations, the memory of celestial hounds forever running across the starry vault. These were not random patterns of light, but mythic beasts tasked with remembering the precise, relentless rhythms of the cosmos itself. The ancient Greeks saw the brilliant star Sirius as the hound following the mighty hunter Orion, and they remembered its annual rising with a mixture of dread and understanding. This event heralded the hottest, most sultry days of the year, days they called the dog days, believing the combined heat of the star and the sun brought fever and madness. This celestial dog was a living almanac, its appearance a crucial marker in the agricultural and social calendar, a fiery reminder of a season of hardship encoded in a single, bright point of light. For the Egyptians, watching the same star was an act of hope. They knew it as Sopdet, and its first pre-dawn appearance on the eastern horizon, its heliacal rising, was the most important date of the year. It signaled the imminent, life-giving flood of the Nile, the event upon which their entire civilization depended. This celestial hound did not bring scorching heat, but the promise of water, fertility, and renewal. Its precise, predictable cycle was a memory of cosmic order, a divine promise written in the stars and remembered by a loyal, stellar dog. Yet in the frozen north, a different kind of pursuit held a much darker memory. The Norse wolves Skirl and Hati were the ultimate celestial predators, forever chasing the sun and moon across the sky. Their myth was a constant, low-grade anxiety made manifest, a cultural memory of the primal fear that the celestial lights might one day be swallowed, plunging the world into permanent darkness. Their destined success at Ragnarök was not a random event, but the fulfillment of a cosmic countdown remembered in their endless running. These celestial beasts, whether loyal hounds or terrifying wolves, transformed the abstract, mechanical movements of the heavens into a gripping, relatable narrative of pursuit and predation. They were the timekeepers of humanity, their stories a universal language for remembering the great clockwork of the universe. That phrase we still use today, the dog days of summer, is a linguistic fossil, a tiny shard of this ancient memory carried across millennia by the myth of the celestial hound. While these beasts remembered the sun's daily journey across the sky, another creature was believed to hold the secret of its terrifying voyage through the land of the dead each and every night. A sleek, spotted shadow slips through the jungle canopy, its eyes holding the memory of a sun that has set. In the dense rainforests of the Maya and the Olmec, the jaguar was far more than the apex predator. It was the designated guardian of the underworld's secrets. This creature possessed a sacred knowledge that kings and shamans would spend their lives trying to grasp, the knowledge of what lies beyond the final threshold. The jaguar was the ultimate boundary crosser, the only being believed to move freely between the world of the living and the dark, fertile realm of the dead. Its very nature encoded a profound cultural memory that death was not a void but a place, a necessary phase in a continuous cycle. When the sun vanished each evening, our ancestors did not imagine it was simply gone. They saw it traveling through this subterranean world. And its avatar on Earth, the creature guiding its passage and remembering the route, was the jaguar. Its dark coat dotted with rosettes was a perfect mirror of the night sky, a celestial map worn on its skin, forever connecting it to the cosmic journey. To wear a jaguar pelt was not merely a display of power, it was an act of spiritual communion. A shaman or a king, draped in the creature's hide, was attempting to tap into its ancient memory, to borrow its vision and travel to the other side to retrieve wisdom, to heal the sick, or to commune with ancestors. The jaguar remembered the pathways that were invisible to human eyes. Its silent, lethal prowess in the hunt also made it an unforgettable symbol of royal and military authority. The memory it carried reinforced the ruler's divine right to wield life and death power, positioning the king as the human equivalent of this master of both worlds. The jaguar was the living memory of balance itself, holding the knowledge of the dark that gave the world of light its meaning. It knew that every beginning has its end, and within every end, the seeds of a new beginning are already waiting in the dark. A threshold must be guarded, and at the most profound of all thresholds stands a beast whose duty is absolute. Cerberus, the great hound of the Greek underworld, is far more than a monstrous watchdog. He is the living memory of the final boundary, the ultimate law that the living and the dead must remain separate. His terrifying form, often depicted with 3 heads, is a perfect mnemonic for this sacred function. Each head represents an unblinking vigilance, a constant awareness that some borders are not meant to be crossed. This threefold gaze could be seen as watching the past, the present, and the future of every soul that passes by, ensuring the irreversible flow of time and fate is maintained. He is not evil but profoundly dutiful. His presence remembers the cosmic chaos that would erupt if the dead could wander back into the world of the living, if grief could be undone and the natural order overturned. The myths of heroes confronting him are not simple monster-slaying tales. When Heracles drags the hound into the sunlight as one of his labors, or when Orpheus lulls him to sleep with music to retrieve his wife Eurydice, these are profound cultural memories of the human spirit challenging the universe's most rigid rule. They are stories of love and duty so powerful they momentarily bend the law that Cerberus embodies. Yet the beast always returns to his post. His lineage is crucial to his memory, born from the primordial monsters Echidna and Typhon, beings of the raw, ancient earth. This connects him not to later, civilized gods, but to the chthonic origins of the world itself. Cerberus remembers a time before order, and his eternal vigil is what prevents a return to that primal chaos. He is the guardian of the rule that gives life its precious, fleeting meaning, the finality that makes every moment count. From this guardian of the ultimate end, we find a being who remembers the very substance of our beginnings. The world itself has a foundation, and it is not stone or steel, but a living creature. Upon the back of the world turtle, entire cosmologies rest, its shell a perfect map of the stable earth we take for granted. This patient beast is the ultimate memory keeper of beginnings, its very existence a testament to the slow, deliberate forces that birthed the land from a formless sea. Its long life, spanning eons, is a living record of geological time, a pace so vast it makes human history feel like a single breath. The turtle remembers the patient work of creation. This foundational memory is shared across continents. In the deep traditions of many indigenous nations of North America, the story of the Earth Diver is central. Here, after a great flood, an animal, often a muskrat or the turtle itself, plunges into the primordial waters to bring up a tiny bit of mud. This mud is placed on the turtle's back, where it expands to become the entire world. The turtle did not create the land, but it offered its own body as the foundation, a permanent, living memory of that first humble act of emergence. This creature's resilience is also a form of remembered wisdom. Its ability to retreat into its shell is not cowardice, but a profound strategy for survival. It symbolizes the preservation of inner truth and stability through times of external chaos, a lesson encoded in its very anatomy. Across the ocean, in Hindu mythology, the turtle Kurma plays an equally foundational role. During the great churning of the ocean of milk, the gods and demons needed an immovable base for their cosmic task. The turtle Kurma dove to the bottom of the cosmic sea and offered its shell as the foundation upon which the mountain used as a churning stick could rest. From this monumental effort emerged the nectar of immortality. The turtle, therefore, was the literal and remembered support for an event that reshaped the cosmos, a patient anchor in a sea of divine turmoil. Whether carrying the earth or supporting the churning of the stars, the world turtle holds the memory of stability itself. It reminds us that our world is not an accident, but a carefully founded place, born from patience and sustained by a resilience as old as time. From this ancient, grounded guardian of creation, we turn to a creature of the air, one who remembers not the patient past, but the urgent and often terrifying future. Their foul wings beat against the memory of broken oaths. The Harpies of Greek myth were more than mere monsters. They were the living, breathing instruments of divine justice, their very existence a constant reminder that the gods' punishment was swift, personal, and inescapable. These creatures, with the faces of women and the bodies of birds, were named the Snatchers, and their purpose was to enforce the most sacred of cosmic laws. They did not merely kill, they tormented, specializing in a form of punishment that attacked the very sustenance of life. Their most famous victim was the seer Phineas, blessed with prophetic sight but cursed for misusing his gift. The Harpies would descend whenever he tried to eat, snatching the food from his hands and defiling what remained with their foul stench. This was not random cruelty, it was a precise, remembered consequence. The myth of Phineas and the Harpies preserved a crucial cultural memory about the nature of divine knowledge. It was a heavy burden, not a toy, and to possess it came with the strictest of responsibilities. To misuse prophecy was to invite a punishment that left you perpetually hungry, forever on the verge of survival but never able to truly live. The Harpies were the embodiments of that gnawing, eternal consequence. Their form itself was a mnemonic device. The hybrid of human and bird represented a violation of natural boundaries, a visual memory of the distortion that occurs when moral or divine laws are broken. They were a polluted wind given shape, their arrival like a sudden storm or a plague descending upon a city, events the ancients interpreted as direct punishment from angry gods. They snatched away more than food, they snatched security and order, leaving behind only the memory of transgression and the stink of divine wrath. These creatures were the memory keepers of fear, a necessary, chilling reminder that human hubris had limits, and that those limits were enforced by winged messengers of retribution. Yet, for all their terrifying certainty, the divine will could also be unpredictable, a lesson carried not by a punisher, but by a glorious, chaotic trickster. A flicker of movement at the edge of the woods, a flash of red fur and a knowing glance. The fox does not guard a temple or carry the world on its back. It guards something far more subversive, the ancient memory of cunning itself. In the firelight of countless campfires, this creature emerged not as a monster to be feared, but as a trickster to be respected, a living lesson that intelligence could triumph where raw power would fail. Its survival depended on its wits, and in watching it, our ancestors saw a reflection of their own need for cleverness in a challenging world. In the deep forests of Japan, the kitsune was a being of profound duality. It served as a sacred messenger for Inari, the god of rice and prosperity, its white fur a symbol of purity, and its presence a remembered promise of a bountiful harvest. This fox carried the memory of the vital link between the human world and the spirit realm, a trusted go-between. Yet, with age and wisdom, it could grow multiple tails, up to 9, each one a visible record of accumulated knowledge and spiritual power. This same creature, however, was also a master shapeshifter, often taking the form of a beautiful woman to test the virtue of unsuspecting men. This ability was not just for mischief, it remembered a fundamental truth about the world as our ancestors perceived it. Reality was fluid, identities could be deceptive, and the surface of things often hid a deeper, more complex nature. The kitsune's very existence taught people to look beyond the obvious, to remember that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. This theme of cleverness traveled west, finding a home in the fables of Aesop. There, the fox who sees the tantalizing grapes high on the vine leaps and leaps again, but finds them forever out of reach. His final dismissal, calling the grapes sour, is a brilliant, compact memory of a complex psychological phenomenon. It is the story of cognitive dissonance, of the human mind's incredible ability to rationalize failure and protect its own ego from disappointment. This small fable, carried for centuries on the back of the fox, preserved a crucial piece of self-awareness about our own mental shortcuts. The fox thrived in the borderlands, in the spaces between the deep wilderness and the human village. This made it the ultimate symbol of adaptability and resourcefulness, a living memory of the skills needed to navigate changing circumstances and unexpected adversity. For any civilization or for any individual on the margins, the fox remembered that sheer strength is not always the answer. Its stories are often tales of the underdog's victory, a testament to brains over brawn, a crucial memory for those who must rely on their wits to survive. This master of cleverness, who lives by its sharp mind, leads us to a creature that embodies a far more primal and terrifying form of memory, the raw, instinctual memory of the hunt and the hunted. Deep within the labyrinth, the very stone corridors twist in on themselves, remembering a secret too terrible to face in the light. The Minotaur is more than a monster. It is the physical incarnation of a king's broken vow, a living prison for the memory of a sacrilege. King Minos was given a magnificent bull by Poseidon, intended as a sacrifice to honor the god of the sea. But when Minos, consumed by greed, kept the magnificent creature for himself, the gods exacted a price that warped nature itself. The queen, Pasiphae, was cursed with an unnatural desire for the bull, and from that transgression the Minotaur was born. This half-man, half-bull creature is not a random freak of nature. Its hybrid body is the permanent, walking memory of the king's hubris. Every roar from its throat echoes the original insult to the divine, a constant reminder that the consequences of broken oaths can take on a life of their own. To contain this living evidence of his shame, Minos ordered the brilliant but cursed inventor Daedalus to build the labyrinth. This maze was not just a prison of stone, it was a memory of the human psyche itself. Its endless, confusing passages mirror the convoluted ways we try to hide our own guilt and failures, burying them deep where we hope they will never be found. The labyrinth is the architecture of denial, a physical representation of the attempt to conceal a painful truth so completely that even the one who built it can barely find the way out. Yet, a memory imprisoned is a memory that still demands to be fed. The Minotaur's hunger required a gruesome tribute, 7 Athenian youths and 7 maidens sent into the maze to be devoured. This annual sacrifice was a brutal political memory, a stark reminder of Crete's dominance over Athens and the human cost of war and subjugation. The monster in the dark was the engine of an entire empire's control, its appetite fueled by the memory of a king's sin and a nation's defeat. When the hero Theseus finally entered the maze, he did not just come to slay a beast. He came to confront a memory that an entire civilization had tried to bury. His victory, aided by the thread given to him by Minos' own daughter, Ariadne, is a profound cultural memory of facing the monstrous truths we hide. The thread represents the clue, the slender line of courage and reason that can guide us through the most complex labyrinths of our own shame. By following it in and then back out, Theseus demonstrates that the only way to overcome a buried trauma is to confront it directly and retrace your steps with new understanding. The Minotaur's death is the destruction of a shameful secret that has festered for too long, a mythic act of catharsis for an entire culture. This creature of confined, internalized guilt stands in stark contrast to the next guardian, a beast that was never confined, a spirit of the wilderness that remembered the world's untamed primordial heart. A virgin's lap was the only trap that could ensnare the mythical unicorn. This was not a story about hunting, but about taming, about the belief that perfect innocence could draw perfection to itself. The unicorn was the living memory of an ideal, a creature whose very existence proved that grace and purity were forces as real as any in the physical world. Its legendary horn, that spiraled lance, was more than a weapon. It was a tool of cleansing, believed to have the power to purify poisoned waters and heal sickness. This made the unicorn a walking antidote to a world perceived as increasingly corrupt, a memory of a time before spiritual and physical pollution. Its elusive nature, the fact that it could not be found by kings or warriors, reinforced this memory. Purity was not something that could be conquered by force, only invited through virtue. This idea was woven deeply into the tapestries and bestiaries of medieval Europe, where the unicorn hunt became a powerful allegory. The beautiful, deadly chase, ending with the beast gently laying its head in a maiden's lap, was a layered memory of the soul's pursuit of divine grace. In Christian symbolism, the unicorn came to represent Christ himself, its capture signifying the incarnation and its death representing the passion. The myth preserved a complex theological concept in a single, stunning image accessible to everyone. The unicorn remembered a prelapsarian world, a Garden of Eden state that humanity had lost but could not forget. It was a benchmark of spiritual perfection, a constant, gentle reminder of a standard that seemed just out of reach, yet was symbolically attainable through faith and innocence. This creature carried the memory of a paradise lost, but also the hope for its eventual return. From this symbol of idealized virtue, we find a memory rooted not in spiritual ideals, but in the very real, ancient bond between human and beast. A silver howl cuts through the civilized night, a stark reminder of the wilderness we carry in our blood. The werewolf is the shuddering memory of our own animal past, a mythic prison for the parts of ourselves that civilization worked so hard to chain. This creature does not remember a golden age of harmony, but a more brutal, honest time when the line between human and beast was thin and permeable. Its transformation under the full moon is a perfect metaphor for the loss of control, the terrifying moment when cultivated reason is overthrown by raw, primal instinct. This was not always seen as pure curse. The legends of Norse berserkers who fought in a battle frenzy they called the fury of the wolf, or the warrior cults of ancient Europe who donned wolf pelts to become something more and less than human, all point to a cultural memory. They remembered a time when accessing that feral state was not a disease, but a tactical advantage, a way to tap into a well of strength and fearlessness that could win a battle. The werewolf myth preserves the echo of that ritualized channeling of the wild self, but as society became more structured, the memory this beast carried darkened. It became a story about everything we feared we might become if we let our guard down. The involuntary transformation embodies the terror of madness, of a mind succumbing to its own buried savagery. During the great panics of the early modern period, the werewolf trial became a brutal tool of social purification. An accusation of lycanthropy was a way for a community to name and destroy its internal demons, to project its anxieties about violence, sexuality, and disorder onto a single, monstrous individual who could then be burned at the stake. The beast remembered the scapegoat. The werewolf is the ultimate paradox, a walking civil war. It is the kind neighbor who becomes the ravenous predator, the father who turns on his own family. Its very existence is a memory of the constant, internal struggle between the laws we live by and the urges we suppress. It forces us to remember that the wild is not a distant forest, but a landscape within, a territory we must navigate every day. This tortured duality finds its resolution in a being that achieved a perfect, revered synthesis of human and animal, a fusion not of conflict but of divine power. A creature stands at the very border of the human world, its form the ultimate debate between reason and raw instinct. The centaur of Greek myth, with the torso of a man fused to the body of a horse, is a walking, breathing memory of our own profound duality. This hybrid was not a monster to be slain, but a constant, unsettling reflection of the struggle between civilization and the wild, a conflict the Greeks believed was the very engine of their culture. Most centaurs embodied the chaos that erupts when instinct overpowers intellect. Their infamous rampage at the wedding of King Pirithous is a stark cultural memory. Invited as guests, they descended into a drunken frenzy, attempting to carry off the bride and all the women. This was not mere barbarism, it was a remembered parable. The centaurs represented the ever-present threat of nature's untamed passions, a force that could shatter the sacred bonds of law, hospitality, and community in an instant. Their violent intrusion into a wedding, the ultimate symbol of social order, made the lesson unforgettable. Yet, within this same mythic race existed a glorious exception, a memory of hope. The centaur Chiron was everything his kin were not: wise, gentle, and profoundly civilized. He was the tutor to the greatest heroes, teaching Achilles the arts of war and healing to Asclepius, who would become the god of medicine itself. Chiron's vast knowledge of healing herbs, music, and even prophecy represented the ideal, the civilized application of natural wisdom. He was the living proof that the raw power of the animal world could be guided by a rational human spirit to create something truly noble. The centaur's body is itself the mnemonic device. The human upper half symbolizes reason, spirit, and the loftier aspirations of culture. The powerful horse body beneath it represents physical passion, strength, and the primal drives of the natural world. You cannot have one without the other. This creature remembers that our humanity is not a rejection of our animal nature, but a continuous, often precarious negotiation with it. The centaur carries the memory of a culture that understood civilization not as a wall keeping the wild out, but as a delicate dance performed right at its edge. It reminds us that we are forever both rational minds riding a powerful, untamable force. From this complex guardian of internal balance, we turn to a being of pure, unrefined elemental power, a beast that remembers the raw, untamed voice of the earth itself. The sky itself remembers its own fury in the form of a bird whose wings create the storm. The thunderbird, a being of immense power in the traditions of the Lakota, Ojibwe, and Kwakwaka'wakwa peoples, is not a distant metaphor. It is the living, breathing memory of the weather's absolute authority over life and death. When its colossal wings beat, the air cracks with thunder. When its eyes flash, they cast not light but lightning. This creature is the personification of the atmosphere's raw, untamable voice. For societies whose survival was woven into the fabric of the seasons, the thunderbird was the ultimate explanation and the ultimate reminder. It encoded a profound meteorological wisdom into narrative. Its arrival in stories signaled the changing of the seasons, its fierce battles with great underwater serpents providing a mythic logic for the thunderstorms that rolled across the plains and forests. These were not just exciting tales, they were remembered lessons. A storm was not a random event, it was the visible sign of a cosmic struggle, a necessary conflict that brought the life-giving rains needed for crops and wildlife. The thunderbird was a primal almanac, its behavior a guide to understanding the patterns of the natural world. Yet this being was more than a force of nature, it was a protector. Perched at the pinnacle of totem poles, it served as a vigilant guardian for the entire community, a memory of spiritual defense against chaos and malevolent spirits. Its dual role was crucial. It brought both the nourishing rain and the destructive tornado, teaching a culture that the same power that gives life can also take it away. The thunderbird carries the memory of a sacred relationship, one built not on control, but on awe and respect for a force far greater than humanity. It remembered that we are not the masters of this world, but participants in a system of immense and elemental power. From this majestic master of the stormy sky, our journey descends into the silent, secret depths of the earth. The sound of a hammer striking metal echoes from deep within the mountain. This is the realm of the dwarves, the master smiths of Norse and Germanic lore, and they are the memory keepers of the earth's hidden wealth. They remembered what human eyes could not see, the secret veins of gold and silver, the deposits of iron and glittering gems. Their entire existence was a testament to the transformative power of craft, a living record of the journey from raw, unformed stone to an object of immense power and beauty. These beings did not simply live underground, they were fused with the earth's deep knowledge, their very essence connected to the chthonic memory of what lies beneath the surface, both in the soil and in the human soul. Their greatest legends are stories of their unparalleled skill. They were the forgers of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, a weapon so mighty it could level mountains. They crafted Odin's spear, Gungnir, which never missed its mark, and they fashioned the cursed ring Anvaranot, a single piece of gold that would unravel fate and bring about tragedy for generations. Each of these artifacts was more than a tool. It was a concentrated memory of a specific power, a story of creation and consequence hammered into a tangible form. Yet, for all their genius, the dwarves are almost always portrayed with a fatal flaw, a deep-seated greed and possessiveness. This is a profound cultural memory of our own anxiety about wealth. The dwarf remembers the intoxicating allure of precious metal and the dark, corrupting potential that lies within its gleam. Their hoards, guarded so jealously in deep, lightless halls, are a mythic mirror of humanity's own complicated relationship with material treasure, the fear that the pursuit of riches can twist the soul into something as hard and unyielding as the stone it mines. The magic of the dwarf was not in wands or spells, but in their hands. Their craftsmanship remembers a time when skill was a sacred act, a form of alchemy where patience, knowledge, and reverence for the material could unlock the spirit sleeping within the metal. To create a sword that would never break or a necklace of breathtaking beauty was to perform a near-divine miracle. The dwarf carries the memory of a pre-industrial world where value was not mass-produced but painstakingly forged, a testament to the deep, necessary connection between the creator, the raw material, and the earth that provided it. They remind us that true wealth is not merely found but made through dedication, mastery, and a respectful dialogue with the very bones of the world. These master forgers of legendary artifacts often created objects of desire that would lure in a very different kind of creature, beings who became the ultimate victims of such all-consuming greed. A dragon sleeps on a mountain of gold, but its true treasure is the fear it guards. The European dragon, a stark contrast to its ordered Chinese cousin, became the mythic memory keeper of a society's deepest anxieties about wealth itself. This was not a creature of celestial balance, but a monstrous embodiment of hoarding, a symbol of riches stolen and made sterile, locked away from the community that needed them. Its very existence posed a terrifying question. What happens when wealth is concentrated in the claws of a being that has no use for it, a creature that represents the ultimate outsider, the parasitic force on the edge of the map? In the epic of Beowulf, the great worm awakens not for conquest, but because a single golden cup is stolen from its vast, unused hoard. Its fiery rampage is not a display of power, but a tantrum of possession, a memory of how avarice, once disturbed, can consume everything in its path. The hero's victory is therefore a cultural memory of reclamation. By slaying the dragon, the hero does not just win treasure, he liberates it. He restores the kingdom's prosperity, defeating the gluttonous force that had made wealth dormant and useless. This dragon's fire is a potent mnemonic for the destructive nature of unchecked desire, a greed so hot it can scorch the earth and leave nothing of value behind. Later, as Christianity spread across the continent, this symbolic role was given a new cosmic dimension. The dragon became synonymous with Satan, the ultimate hoarder of souls and the great enemy of divine order. Its scales were the armor of sin, its fiery breath the torment of hell, and its lair a fortress against God's grace. This transformation carried the memory of a spiritual battle, framing the struggle not just for earthly gold, but for the very fate of the human soul. The beast remembered the fear that concentrated, unproductive power, whether material or spiritual, could blight an entire world. The dragon's hoard is therefore a memory of pure potential. It represents the incredible prosperity a kingdom could enjoy, and the utter ruin that comes from letting that prosperity fall under the control of a solitary, possessive, and alien will. The myth insists that a true hero is not the one who accumulates the most, but the one who redistributes fortune for the common good, who slays the guardian of ill-gotten gains to restore a healthy flow through the body of the community. But what happens when the guardians themselves, these living libraries of memory, begin to fade from our collective consciousness? A dragon's hoard can be reclaimed by a hero, but a forgotten myth is a treasure lost forever. What happens when a civilization's mythic beasts fade from memory, when the living libraries that held their world, you simply close their doors? This is not a quiet forgetting, but a form of cultural amnesia, a severing of the roots that anchor a people to their own identity. We can trace this shift in the ancient world as local nature spirits, the genii of the forest and stream, were gradually absorbed or replaced by the centralized, anthropomorphic gods of Mount Olympus or other grand pantheons. This was more than a theological update. It was a fundamental change in how a culture remembered its relationship with the land, trading an intimate, localized conversation for a more distant, bureaucratic one. The great wave of the modern scientific world, you brought another, deeper kind of forgetting. A thunderstorm is no longer the thunderbird beating its colossal wings, but a fascinating interplay of atmospheric pressure and electrical charge. While our understanding of the physical world has grown immeasurably, something intimate has been lost in the translation, the resonant story that connected a human community to the weather's soul. This amnesia accelerates when a language dies. The precise, untranslatable words used to describe a mythic creature, words that held its essence, vanish, leaving behind only skeletal translations that cannot capture the living memory. More tragically, the process of colonization weaponized this forgetting. The systematic suppression of indigenous myths was a deliberate act of severing people from the land itself, from the songlines the rainbow serpent carved and the laws the condor remembered from the sky. It was an attempt to erase the memory keepers that held a culture's title to their own home and history, yet these memories are stubbornly resilient. They refuse to die and often resurface in new, adapted forms. Consider the Yeti of the Himalayas or the Sasquatch of North America. Beyond the question of their physical reality, their powerful hold on our imagination may be a cultural memory in itself, a deep, racial recollection of a time when other hominids truly did share our world, a ghost from our own evolutionary past that we have mythologized. The fading of a beast is not just the loss of a story, it is the loss of a specific way of seeing, a unique lens through which an entire culture understood its place in the cosmos. As these ancient guardians retreat into the mist, we are left with a pressing question for our own time. In a world of data and hard facts, how can we possibly recover the wisdom these creatures held, or learn to listen for their echoes in the stories we tell ourselves today? A single, grainy photograph still haunts the dark waters of Loch Ness. The search for Nessie is far more than a hunt for a hidden animal. It is a modern longing to find a living memory keeper from a lost world. This creature and others like the Congo's Mokele Mbembe are contemporary attempts to locate a living dinosaur, a being that would carry the primordial memory of a prehistoric Earth directly into our present. They function as powerful placeholders for a wilderness we have paved over, a tangible memory of an era when the world still held vast, uncharted spaces and giant, unknown creatures. We are not just looking for a plesios, or we are searching for the echo of a planet that felt larger, more mysterious, and more wondrous. This impulse finds a different, yet equally potent, expression in the stories we consume. The sprawling worlds of Harry Potter, The Lord of the Rings, and even Pokémon are not devoid of mythic beasts, they are built upon them. These fictional creatures are not random inventions, they are carefully designed to carry the values, fears, and hopes of their worlds, and by extension to reflect our own. The hippogriff, for instance, is a lesson in respect and etiquette, its pride and dignity a direct analogy for the consequences of our social interactions. Consider the Patronus charm from Harry Potter, a powerful piece of magic that is not cast with a wand alone, but with a memory. The charm produces a silvery, guardian beast, unique to each witch or wizard, that embodies their happiest, most powerful recollection. This is a direct, elegant metaphor for the very concept we have been exploring, the idea that a protective, powerful beast can be the literal manifestation of a positive memory, a guardian summoned from the depths of one's own mind. These modern narratives prove that our brains are still wired to code complex ideas about identity, morality, and memory into animal forms. The creatures of our popular culture are the direct descendants of the Lóng and the Phoenix, adapted for a global, digital age. They show that the fundamental human need to externalize our inner world, to give our memories and morals a tangible, animal shape, is as powerful today as it was for the first storytellers who gazed at the stars and saw a celestial hound. This unbroken chain of creation reveals that our own stories are part of a vast, ongoing human project, a timeless endeavor to understand ourselves by building beasts to remember for us. The dragon you dream of is a fragment of your own mind. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, proposed a revolutionary idea that reshapes our entire understanding of these mythic beasts. He suggested they are not merely cultural inventions, but manifestations of archetypes rising from what he called the collective unconscious. This is a deep, inherited layer of the human psyche, a shared reservoir of memories and patterns common to all of humanity. From this perspective, the dragon, the heroic figure, the cunning trickster fox, and the nurturing great mother serpent are more than cultural memories. They are innate psychological memories hardwired into the very structure of our being. The beast who remembers is not just a character in an old story, it is a part of us all. Jungian analysis teaches us that encountering these powerful figures in our myths, and even in our dreams, is a profound process of accessing and integrating fundamental aspects of our own souls. Consider the hero's epic battle with the dragon. This is not just an external conflict. It can be interpreted as the ego's necessary struggle to master the chaotic, primal, and often terrifying forces of the personal unconscious. The dragon is the internal chaos we must all face and tame to become whole. This psychological lens fundamentally transforms these creatures. They are no longer just external record keepers of a civilization's past. They become internal memory keepers, remembering for us the deep, inherited architecture of the human mind. They hold the memory of our mind's own primordial shape and the universal, timeless challenges of human existence, from confronting our shadow self to seeking transformation and wholeness. This view allows us to see these myths not as dusty records of external, historical events, but as eternal, internal dramas that every single person and every culture enacts and reenacts across the centuries. The stage is not a distant land, but the vast, uncharted territory within. As we map this profound internal landscape of memory, we are inevitably led to a crucial and pressing question for our modern world. What is our responsibility in how we interpret, share, and ultimately use these powerful, inherited narratives today? That ancient memory is not locked in the past, but is being rewoven into the fabric of our present. Across the globe, a powerful movement is underway to reclaim these mythic beasts, not as relics, but as vital guides for a world in crisis. Indigenous scholars and artists are at the forefront, reviving the stories of the rainbow serpent and the thunderbird. They are presenting these beings not as simple fairy tales, but as sophisticated, valid systems of ecological knowledge. The rainbow serpent songlines are being recognized as intricate maps of biodiversity and land management, while the thunderbird storms are understood as narratives about atmospheric balance and the consequences of disruption. This is an act of decolonizing memory, of restoring the authority of stories that were systematically suppressed, and in doing so, reclaiming a whole way of seeing and interacting with the living world. Simultaneously, the environmental movement has embraced this ancient language. The concept of Mother Earth, or Pachamama, functions as a modern mythic beast, a single, encompassing entity that holds the memory of planetary health. Framing the climate crisis as a failure to listen to her, or to the wisdom of the spirits of the forest and ocean, is a strategic and profound shift. It moves the conversation beyond mere data points and carbon metrics and into the realm of sacred responsibility. It asks us to remember a covenant of reciprocity with the natural world, a memory these creatures have safeguarded for millennia. Our own storytellers are busy creating new pantheons for a new age. Fantasy authors and game designers invent creatures that carry memories uniquely suited to contemporary anxieties. We see beasts born from pollution, entities that question the nature of consciousness, and hybrid creatures that explore fluid identities. These new mythic beings are the memory keepers of our digital, globalized era, encoding our collective fears about technology, our struggles for social justice, and our search for belonging in a fragmented world. This entire process is the opposite of nostalgic escape. It is a deliberate and urgent act of intellectual diversification. It recognizes that the beasts offer alternative ways of knowing, a narrative intelligence that can run parallel to scientific understanding. They provide a framework for values that feel more crucial than ever, values like long-term balance over short-term gain, deep respect over exploitation, and cyclical thinking over linear progress. To re-engage with them is to access a different kind of memory bank, one that holds the accumulated wisdom of long-term survival and coexistence. Every time we reinterpret a dragon or summon a new guardian into being, we are performing an act of memory keeping for the future, ensuring that the most vital lessons are not stored in cold data, but are carried forward in the warm, beating heart of a story. That loyal dog greeting you at the door, or the patient turtle you admired in a childhood story, might be closer to your core than you realize. These creatures are not just characters from fables, they are the living fragments of your personal mythology, the beasts who remember for you. Think about the qualities you most admire or the strength you call upon in difficult times. The diligent, community-minded ant from Aesop's fables might remember your own relentless work ethic, that part of you that builds something lasting, one small, persistent effort at a time. The loyal dog from countless tales remembers your profound capacity for friendship and unwavering devotion to your family. Perhaps the cunning fox remembers your sharp problem-solving skills, your ability to navigate complex social situations with wit and intelligence. Or the patient turtle remembers your deep resilience, your power to retreat, endure, and emerge from hardship stronger than before. We absorb these animal archetypes from the stories we hear and the lives we lead, and they become the internal guardians of our values, our struggles, and our secret aspirations. This is the most intimate scale of this ancient practice. Just as the Lóng remembered an empire's celestial order and the phoenix remembered a culture's hope for rebirth, the beasts within you remember the unique narrative of your own life. They are the psychological fingerprints of your experiences, the animal spirits that give shape to your character. Identifying which creatures resonate with you is not a frivolous game. It is a way to access a profound self-awareness, to understand the stories you are constantly telling yourself about who you are and what you are capable of becoming. This personal reflection bridges the epic, historical scale of cultural memory with the quiet, intimate reality of your own identity. It suggests a beautiful and humbling truth that each of us is a living library, a beast who remembers, carrying forward the fragments of ancient stories that have, in their own way, shaped us into who we are today. This journey through the memories of mythic beasts reveals a stunning truth that mythology is not the opposite of history, but one of its most profound and enduring forms. From the celestial dragons of China to the world-encircling serpent of the Norse, from the continent-carving rainbow serpent to the fiery, self-renewing phoenix, these creatures have served as the living, breathing archives of human experience. They remembered everything from the first act of creation to the final twilight of the gods, from the sacred laws of society to the chaotic wilderness that lay just beyond the firelight. They encoded entire systems of ecological knowledge, moral consequence, and the deepest anxieties and hopes of the civilizations that gave them form. In an age of digital information and potential cultural amnesia, these beasts offer a crucial reminder that memory is not merely about storing data, but about preserving meaning, story, and our fundamental connection to the world around us. They challenge us to look beyond the literal and to listen carefully for the echoes of the past in the stories we still tell and the new myths we create. The beasts themselves may be mythic, but the memories they carry are utterly real, etched into the landscape of our collective psyche. Let their enduring presence inspire you to consider what stories you are carrying forward in your own life, and to wonder what great, mythic beasts might one day be created to remember the essence of our civilization long after we are gone. We would love to hear which of these ancient creatures you feel the deepest connection to and why. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us continue this conversation, working together to keep these ancient, vital memories alive.